Welcome to the Rock and Iron Podcast.
We back.
This is episode number 2, and I have Gray with me again.
Here I am.
Because Gray is freaking genius. You know a lot more than I do. I mean, at least I feel you do. And we're able to bounce stuff back and forth, and I learn a lot from you.
I try my best.
For sure. But today, we're going to be talking about gear. We want to bring in some knowledge. Maybe you're in Tejas. Maybe you're somewhere where you don't get outdoors a lot, so you just kind of have like a limited knowledge base or a limited wealth of gear to get to. So you just kind of get what's available. Maybe you want to know the differences between things like quick draws having longer and shorter dog bones or wider ones. Why is that? Is it just a safety thing? Is it something else? Do you really need a 10 or a 10-1 or a 9-8 rope, or can you go a little thinner? What are all these things? What do you need to do? And Gray is kind of a wealth of knowledge, so I brought him back. He's been kind enough to grace us with his presence, and we're gonna kind of go over those things and all that sort of fun stuff, and trad gear, nuts, cams. What's the difference? Which is safer? Which is not safer? Which do you prefer to use? Yeah, you can see the wheels turning. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. And we're going to start with the gear over closest to Gray. We're going to start with those nuts.
Cool.
Because Gray likes picking up some nuts.
Yeah, absolutely. So instead of talking about nuts, let's broaden it to passive protection.
Okay.
So to take it one step further back, basically there's two types of rock protection. Mm-hmm. It's going to be passive pro and active pro.
Okay.
Passive, you're going to find a constriction in your rock. You're going to find something that's going to fit said constriction. Mm-hmm. Give it a little tug for good measure, and clip it and go.
Clip it and go. So by constriction, we're talking about a crack that you can slip one of these into.
So basically like a crack that is wavy, or a crack that tapers and does things of that nature, right? So like in front of me here is the Black Diamond Stopper, a very popular nut or chalk, if we're being super technical. You can see that it is going to be, I guess if I demonstrate to the camera, going to have a little curved side. It's going to be a little bit tapered this way. So it's going to be good this way, or this way.
Okay.
So it's going to give you a little bit of flexibility in how you want to place it. And basically what you're looking for is to ideally get like this grooved section to bite into a constriction. So you'll get it kind of thinned, and then as you give it a tug, it's going to
come in and
click right into place. Passive pro, and then basically to kind of elaborate on that, this is simply one shape. So probably the second most popular form of chalk is going to be a hex or a hex nut. Again, much like, every single climbing company is going to make their version of this. And there's probably 4 or 5 manufacturers that are doing hexes still as well. Depending on who you talk to, depending on where you climb, hexes are great, or hexes are a little old school and a little outdated.
Yeah.
Those would be kind of the two prevailing sentiments. Obviously, as you can tell, this simply isn't that big.
Yep.
So a hex is going to be a great passive option for larger and larger constrictions. The biggest complaint that I hear about hexes is that they knock together and they're very loud and they cause a ruckus, and people don't like that. On the flip side, the benefits of hexes is that they're really lightweight.
Yeah.
And especially if you're like alpine climbing, where you're trying to move as like light as possible. Maybe you're doing like 5-4 ridge climbing, like a set of hexes, and like you're running it out like 50-60 feet between pro. Like that's so much easier to drop a hex and keep climbing than it is to bring a full rack of cams.
Yeah.
Or maybe to supplement a rack of cams. Like for me, when I have my hexes on my rack, I always try to build my anchors with hexes so that the leader always has a full set of cams to lead with.
There you go.
That's another great option. But yeah, I guess the third and style of passive pro is going to be an offset nut. Black Diamond just started making those for 2018. Most popularly where they were produced by DMM. Those are really great. They'll basically fit where these guys won't. On the flip side, because they're so oddly shaped, they're a little bit harder to clean.
Yeah.
With a set of nuts, I would always pair that with a nut tool
I was
of
going
some
to say,
sort.
speaking of cleaning.
Cleaning nuts is a bit of an art. Ideally, so basically, the thing with a nut is that it is a directional piece.
Yes.
I will set it in a place that if I were to pull it in one direction, it won't go anywhere.
And that would be the direction that you would fall.
Of course.
So if we're going to place it, we want to place it in a direction that it, and tug on it in the direction that if we were to fall on it,
fit further into that constriction.
Yeah.
So to remove it, you're going to need to find a way to pull it in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
I guess while we're on the subject, a word to the wise, a lot of people will tell you that your first piece on a trad route shouldn't be a single directional piece.
Okay.
Because if you get higher up and you fall, that when your belayer takes, it's now an outward pull, not a downward pull, and you can what's called reverse zipper all of your nuts. That's good. You're gonna die. I think tell people. So
don't reverse zipper. Don't die.
that's bad. That's bad. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But right, it's like this is what we'll get into. Like you can debate this till the end of time with trad gear. It's like if a nut's the only piece that I'm gonna get that's gonna keep me off the ground, like place the nut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a little bit about Passive Pro. Even if you just want to learn a little bit about trad gear, or like maybe want to get into it in the future, you can pick up like this stopper set in particular, retails for $99.
Yep.
Camp makes an even smaller one that retails for like $59 if you're really balling on a budget. So there's like a ton of ways to get some, and just start like sinking them into like the base of your crag and like learning, and like especially if you place them all low, you could like bounce test them and like kind of get a feel for what works and what doesn't. I learned trad gear at Devil's Lake building top rope anchors, and I never bought any cams. I bought some nuts and some hexes, and we built our top rope anchors or slung trees, and like you really learned a lot about gear that way without ever actually having to place it on lead.
And that's actually how I learned trad placement too, was building anchors at the Wichita Wildlife Refuge in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things
So
about that.
that's God, it's beautiful. Oklahoma doesn't deserve it.
Those are fight words. So I guess before we bridge the gap between Passive Pro and Active Pro, you have a little hole here for tri-cams.
Okay.
Tri-cams are really neat because you can place them completely passive. Think of a nut like this that's got like a big silly hook coming out of it. So again, if you have a weird constriction that your normal nut wouldn't fit into, well, hey, maybe a tri-cam might actually fit in a good passive place. But what's really neat about it, and I guess I'll demonstrate with your normal nut right here. Imagine if I took this nut and flipped it over.
Yeah.
And then placed it like this.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So now in my constriction, and I pull this way. Now, of course, I have to generate enough force to flip this all the way around before it could come out. So now this is the best way to explain Active Pro to people.
Okay.
So you see here, like this is a perfect example, right? When I bend this over, it will expand outwards, right? So think about that in the crack. What it's doing is taking this downward force of my fall and transferring that momentum and energy outward, just like that. So this is forcing itself out against the wall of the crack. And that is what's keeping it in place.
Yeah.
Not just that it's wedged in there.
And that would be active.
And that's active.
So
of course, it's easy to understand a little bit better when you think of a tri-cam that's simply pivoting along a single axis and pushing force in one way.
Yeah.
The original cams were like that as well, which is a great transition into an actual cam, which now I'm taking that same idea, but now I'm evenly placing
the force.
Sending force out on both sides.
Yeah.
It does the same thing. So, cams and Active Pro and Passive Pro work great in concert with each other. There are great placements that take nuts that would not take cams. There are great placements that take cams that would not take nuts.
Yeah.
Think of a place like Indian Creek, perfectly paralleled cracks. You're gonna want to protect those with cams, right?
Yeah.
There's not enough grooves or constrictions or features of that crack that a nut could really bite and hold on to.
Correct.
But on the flip side, like you'll find like perhaps Eldorado Canyon or different like granite splitters or anything like that that's going to be a little wavier or a little like more constriction, or like a rock that's like really pebbly.
Yeah.
If you're not getting 4 flush contact, 4 lobes really well placed, you're not going to be able to generate that. So like if you have that weird contusion where this now looks something like this, you're not like evenly applying pressure, that cam's not,
you're gonna pop the cam.
that cam's not good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
so like I mean it depends a lot on where you're climbing and like the type of rock and what those roots look like. As always, I should have gave this disclaimer originally. Seek professional help. Like
yes.
don't, or
it's okay. I'll cut it. We'll put that at the beginning.
All of us are like where we are of like, because we had a lot of mentors who like really helped us out, and like those people are great, and if you trust them, awesome. But like if you don't have a person like that, like get on the AMGA, like find a certified rock guide, like don't try this at home, kids. You know what I mean? Like
don't be silly. We're playing with your life.
So like again, and kind of like as I mentioned, so I guess there's 2 types of cams that are commonly made. One is going to be a single axle designed cam, and one is going to be a double axle designed cam, and there are pros and cons of both, much like anything. The single axle cams are obviously you're able to make them smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So like up on your wall on yonder, you have the 00 master cam. The Black Alien is that size. The 0.1 Black Diamond X4 is that size. Those are all single axles. So it's going to help you get a little bit smaller. The biggest difference between a single axle cam and a double axle cam is how you place them. So a single axle cam is going to be like money in the bank, between about 75% to like 95% compressed. You know, at 100% compressed, then it's entirely friction. If it can't expand at all, it can't be active, right?
Yeah.
So you never want to do that. Also, the closer you get to 100%, the harder it is to clean, and you're going to be wiggling and stuff on that.
So the idea when we go to place these is to have it pulled back as much as possible?
On a single axle.
On a single axle.
And not as much as possible.
Not as much as possible.
No.
Okay.
So on a single axle, you want it to be about 75% there.
Okay.
Give or take.
Single axle, 75%. You want to pull
single
it back.
axle. That's a double
This
axle.
is a double.
Yeah.
Those are singles.
On a
This is
double
just what I
axle
have
cam,
mine.
you want it between 50 and 75. BDs are really nice. The best way to think about it is like when you retract the cams, you want it between a 90-degree angle that the lobes are making and then touching.
Okay.
That's the money spot. And the best part about a double axle cam, 2 reasons. 1, gives you more range.
Yep.
Additionally, the double axle cam stops, if you were, I haven't found one yet, if you were able to place it in a constriction such as this,
Yeah.
it is fully rated as a passive piece.
Really?
Where this will mushroom and pull right out.
And just pop off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These will just go the other way.
Interesting. I did not know that.
There you go.
So if you're just beyond it and you're in it like that, it can be fully
Again,
rated
I've never
as a-
found a good placement like that, despite looking very hard for the past 5 years now.
That's good to know, though.
But yeah.
It's just a little extra utility that you get from your
For sure.
gear.
Black Diamond, I could be talking out of my ass here, but I believe Black Diamond made the first double axle cam in 1989.
Okay.
Thus, that 25-year patent did expire in 2014.
Oh.
So there are now a couple double axle cam designs on the market right now, specifically the DMM Dragon and the newly updated Wild Country Friend.
And DMM and Wild Country both make fantastic gear.
Yeah, the first
Fantastic
gear. Rack cams I bought was the original DMM Dragons.
Yeah.
In 2015, they're stellar. They're great cams. The new Wild Country Friends are fantastic. Obviously, the Black Diamond C4s are like super tried and true. They obviously have their ultralight C4, which is super awesome.
Yes.
And then in single axle land, we have an updated version of the Metolius Master Cam called the Master Cam Ultralight that's super great. And then additionally, you have the Totem Cam, which I don't know if you want to go down that rabbit hole. Then we have the Aliens. And then the Black Diamond X4s. X4s are weird. The 3 smallest sizes are single axle. The 3 bigger sizes are double axle.
Okay.
Okay. Because they're still Black Diamond. The double axle cams obviously very important to BD's design, but when you spread them out like that, you can't. There's a size that eventually hits. So that's a little bit about trad gear.
Yeah.
Without getting
I
like
think without diving.
yeah,
too
without
terribly
getting
far.
like into like super minute details about like X versus Y.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think it also helps with a lot of people because I know coming from Texas, like I was really worried about trad because the closest trad that we had was Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah,
And
there's a lot of. I mean, I think the biggest thing is people don't really understand trad gear, and they and like especially if you grew up sport climbing or gym climbing, where it's like you're falling on bolts, and it's like bolts are safe, blah
it's
blah
like
blah.
this is rock climbing.
Yeah, and so it's like you look at trad and you're like, oh well, that's not my trusty bolt, so I don't know if I trust it. I mean, it's like you talk to like trad climbers, like I'd like to self-identify as a trad climber. It's like I'll trust gear more than bolts because I put it there.
That's my gut feeling. Like when I first started climbing, before I started sport climbing, and I looked at sport climbing and I looked at trad climbing and just
Yeah,
blind as a bat could possibly be when looking at those things. It's like, well, somebody else has determined that I have to get to this point to put
exactly.
in my
Yeah, I mean,
bolt
if you're climbing trad and you've got the gear with you, I mean, it's like theoretically you could be on top rope the whole time.
yeah, you can
You know,
just
yeah.
keep reaching high.
Yeah,
Place
yeah.
it in.
So if you're scared,
Give
get
it a
some
tug.
gear. If you're not scared, go rock climb.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of like a liberating aspect of that. And then the biggest thing is like, for me, I learned trad gear by building top rope anchors and then immediately rappelling off of them because that's how we went and rock climb. So it's like
Yeah.
I kind of trusted gear pretty quickly, and a really great way to learn how to like place gear and trust gear, hang a top rope on a crack and then aid it on top rope.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to like plug a ton of gear. You're going to stand up off all of it. So like you're going to know that it's solid and it's not going to fall out. And then eventually, I mean, it's like, you'll do it enough, but it's like, I don't think that I'm some like wizard when it comes to this stuff. It's like, you kind of have a gut feeling and you can look at it and you know if it's going to hold or if it's not.
Yeah.
And if it's, I would say if you interviewed most trad climbers and are like, when have you fallen and blown gear, and asked them, did you think that gear was going to hold? I would say 80-90% of them would be like, yeah, I knew that gear was trash.
Yeah.
Once in a blue moon, you're going to play something that you think's going to hold and it might not. I mean, that's what we're getting into here.
Yeah, it's kind of the game
But
that
it's
we
like,
play.
I mean, I've placed gear that I know is not going to hold and don't fall on it, So I think the idea of like, oh, trad's more dangerous than sport, I don't know how much I really believe that.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah. So I mean, basically what you're saying is follow the gut feeling.
Yeah.
Your gut is right.
Yeah.
So if you think it's not
I mean,
gonna
do
hold,
the homework, like know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Go
get the experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Get a mentor. Find somebody.
Yeah. There's a really good Falcon Guide climbing anchors book.
Mm-hmm.
I would highly recommend that to anybody.
Okay.
Just like 100 pages worth of colored pictures of this gear is good. This gear
Gear's
is not
bad.
good. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
And what was the name of that again?
Climbing anchors.
Climbing Anchors.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to put that in a thing right about here.
Great.
That'll work. Free promo for them. So that's a little bit about trad gear. Obviously, there's a whole lot more. Please go learn about it. Go read about it. Watch YouTube videos on it. Meet a mentor. Talk to somebody. And please don't go out and climb a trad route the first time with two newbies that have no idea what they're doing. Find somebody or something. If you're in Texas, Mario Stanley, he's the guy to talk to. And I'm sure no matter where you are, I'm sure there's somebody at your gym or maybe a regular at the crag that you go to that would know somebody. I mean, it's a small world. Use it. It works for us. So let's move over to this guy.
Yes.
I know this is one of your favorite things. Could be.
It's neat. It has a very specific purpose.
Yes. What is its specific purpose?
So it's a personal anchor system.
Okay.
In its broadest sense, it has some really cool advantages. Most people, myself included, get very opinionated when it comes to how to clean a sport anchor. Not that other ways are inherently wrong.
This is great treading softly.
I have some takes. The PAS is really not the best part for the PAS, in my opinion, is when we're doing maintenance at the gym or route setting, because you can clip it into an anchor and then pull yourself up closer.
Yes.
So you can kind of manage your distance. So that's the best part about this, unlike a daisy chain or a PAS from Metolius, is that it is the carabiner slides along the rope, so it's perfectly customizable as to how far or close you want to be to your anchor point. So it does that better than anything.
Pull that, you can adjust it, be equipped to your harness, and it'll be able to pull you up, and you can adjust what angle you're sitting at the wall at and how close to it.
The other really great advantage of that is that that's a dynamic piece of climbing rope, so if you were happen to slip and shock load it, it will absorb that, unlike...
piece of static rope.
Yeah. So that's a cool advantage as well. The disadvantages of that, when it comes to disadvantage one, it's really bulky on your harness. I think the best beta is to fully extend it, clip it into your first gear loop, and then tuck the loop of rope into the leg loop of the harness. I think that's the easiest way to like get it out of the way. It's definitely going to get caught on stuff. And then the other disadvantage is if you're doing it for like anchoring or something like that, it is only one carabiner coming out of that. So that's why people don't necessarily recommend it for cleaning sport anchors.
Because we would rather have 2 points of contact, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Any other reasons other than that?
No, it's a little bit about what it does.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Comparatively speaking, it's expensive.
Yep.
It retails for $49 and doesn't have a carabiner in it. If you think about a PAS, that's going to retail for $32.
Yep.
A Metolius PAS could be $32. My setup of an Alpine Draw and an extra locker, you could get for about $15.
I think my setups of a runner and carabiner.
Yeah. So again, this is infinitely more versatile.
Yes.
But it's more expensive. So
depends on what you're doing, what you're trying to do.
Take the good with the bad.
Yeah. And again, it all comes down to preference with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, let's move on now to probably one of the more heavily used items.
Sure.
Which is quick draws.
Yep.
We got wire gates. We got solid gates. We
Yeah.
got one wire gate, one solid gate. We got thick dog bones. We got long dog bones. We got skinny dog bones.
Yeah. So let's break this down. Let's take a step back, right? Quick draws are inherently simple because they're only 3 pieces.
True.
Top carabiner, dog bone, bottom carabiner. What you choose to do with those 3 is completely up to you.
Yeah.
Your most affordable options are almost exclusively going to be wire gates, and then as you get into more expensive ones, you're going to get normally the solid gates. But let's break this down a little further. Let's start at the top with your top carabiner.
Okay.
Which we will go between. Basically, I don't necessarily want to call it wire gates and solid gates. Let's actually call it notched carabiners and key lock / clean nose carabiners.
Okay.
So if you look at, actually this is the perfect example right here. You can see our bolt side. You can tell the bolt side is less stiff. The rope side should have some sort of rubber stopper on the bottom. I'll get into that in a little bit. So you can see the bolt side of this carabiner is a key locking carabiner or a clean nose carabiner. There is no notch. The rope side, which is the normal wire, has a notch right there.
It does.
The notch is going to be a pain getting it on and off your harness. It could snag on your gear loop. But the real issue is if you have a notch and you hook the notch on the bolt hanger and fall on it, you will snap your carabiner in half.
It will break.
It will break. Not like it's cross-loaded. No, it will break.
It will
break.
It is not designed to take the weight there.
Exactly. So for that reason, the majority of people, myself included, would strongly recommend that you have a key lock / clean-nosed carabiner on the top.
On the top.
Yep.
Metal side. As I like to say, metal side and rope side.
Sure.
As opposed to top bottom.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Same thing. Don't mean to confuse anybody.
But let's think about, we can create a clean nose carabiner that has a wire gate because wire gates are lighter.
Yep.
And some people think that they clip a little nicer as well. That's personal preference.
Just make it a little bit easier.
So
to
a great
get in there and
example
move
of
it.
that, as you have here on your .75, is Black Diamond's hood wire carabiner. So you can see it has this little guy covering.
hood wire.
Yes, the hood wire covering the notch. So now you have more or less a notchless wire gate. A lot of companies are making carabiners like that now. Most notably the Petzl Ange, which is super dope. Camp's new Dion, which is really cool. The Wild Country Helium is a clean nose.
Yep,
That
and
carabiner is
super
awesome.
light. Oh my god.
So there's a ton of ways to do that.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend having at least a clean nose on the top.
Yes.
Then when it comes to, let's work down. Then we'll have the dog bone, right? You mentioned width, which is a great discussion, and then length, which is another interesting discussion. Width is more or less weight. This Black Diamond posit wire draw has a super standard width. I would go.
Yep.
This is right at the happy medium, and that's why you're going to see this kind of width dog bone is going to be basically you're kind of very similar to harnesses. Your kind of do it all, kind of jack of all trades type gear is
most popular.
It's going
I
to be the most affordable.
Yeah.
And then as you get into more and more specialized equipment, that's where you're going to get a higher cost.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of right in the middle. Then you will get super skinny Dyneema quick draws. These are great for weight savings as well as they're super packable. So if you
Yes.
like travel, you're like taking a trip to Red Rock, Nevada, or hitching a flight to the New River Gorge or something like that, and you need to fit 20 quick draws in like your normal suitcase or something like that.
Yep.
Those Dyneema dog bones, they're so small.
Yeah.
They're super great. I did a trip a couple years ago and just took 6 Black Diamond Oz quick draws with me that had those super skinny Dyneema dog bones on them. They fit in my suitcase like no problem with like all the other stuff that we only had one day of climbing on like a week-long trip.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to take all the other stuff for this
I
trip.
need everything there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So those were great because they didn't take up a lot of space in my bag.
Yeah.
Also, they're, again, as established, super lightweight. So, if you're doing long approaches or some more kind of alpine style stuff where you just want a couple quick draws, or maybe there's like some fixed pins up on the route or something like that. Those are great, super fast, super easy, super lightweight. I really like those. And again, or if you're doing like super long routes that take like 20 draws, those are great. They're not going to add up as much, weigh you down on the bottom of the route. So
Yeah.
there's a ton of advantages to them.
Especially if the crux is at the bottom.
Exactly.
Whew.
But then the opposite is true for the wider dog bones. So this is a great example of a wider dog bone. Petzl Spirit.
Yep.
Technically the Express Spirit is the name of the carabiner. The Black Diamond live wires have a big wide dog bone on them. Those are super great. And then the DMM Alpha Sport draws.
Yeah.
Awesome. Those have a nice big wide dog bone on them. And the idea is when you're sport climbing at your limit, as you project a route, you're going to be going bolt to bolt. You're going to want something that's easy to grab onto.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage of having a nice big wide dog bone.
Fits in the hand a little bit better.
Exactly.
You don't have to.
Also, if you're getting into like projecting routes and you're pre-hanging all the draws, the wider dog bones are much more advantageous there as well. At the end of the day, they're kind of personal preference. There are big advantages to both. It kind of just depends on what type of climbing you're doing.
Yeah.
Then while we're on the dog bone, I guess I'll get into the rubber stopper on the bottom.
Give me 2 seconds, and then we'll get into the rubber stopper.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get that screen.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does away with the timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to leave that in there. Rubber stopper.
So you have your rubber stopper. The rubber stopper is great. It's going to make your carabiner, your rope side carabiner, way easier to clip because it won't
move.
It won't move. Petzls are super great. They're really big and burly and nice. Black Diamonds, on the other hand, I struggle to recommend, being that they are small, tucked on the inside. It's speaking from experience, it's not that hard at all to tear it out of the draw, which I have clearly done. So, one other thing while we're on this, camps are really awesome.
'Kay.
Because camps are actually sewn into the dog bone.
Oh.
So they're more idiot proof.
Okay.
There was a tragic climbing accident a while ago where
I know what you're about
somebody
to.
had their
Yeah.
draws through the rubber stopper and not the nylon.
Yes,
And then
because the
they-
rubber stopper was on the outside.
Right, and then they fell, and obviously they weren't actually
Clipped in.
connected to the draws.
Yeah.
And they decked and died,
'Cause all
which
the-
is which is a huge bummer.
That was I think it was a younger
Yes.
professional climber,
Yes.
and I feel terrible for not
Yeah.
being able to remember who that was.
Yeah. So that's why camps are now sewn into the dog bones.
Yes.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
The best part about draws is that if you like one element, you like pretty much every manufacturer sells all their draw pieces individually.
Yes.
So if you wanted to kind of build your own quick draw,
If you want a Petzl dog bone
exactly.
and a hood wire,
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can put those together.
It's totally doable. So then let's get into that rope side carabiner.
Rope side?
One thing we haven't talked about yet.
Yep.
All right, I gotta do it.
Okay.
I gotta do it. I hate this conversation.
He's lying. He loves this conversation.
No, I hate this conversation. So there is an argument.
Arguments.
I
I
call it.
find myself in these often.
I call it an urban legend or a myth rather than an argument, but that's
Okay.
my opinion. Called gate flutter,
Gate flutter.
which I will demonstrate
Ah.
by doing that. So the solid gate is
Just-
heavier than a wire gate.
And so, just so you know, on the podcast, what we're doing is Gray is demonstrating hitting the back of the carabiner on his hand,
And you hear
thus
that
forcing
clipping sound.
Yeah,
So the idea is when all of the planets align on the perfect of blue moons, you will take a whip on your sport project. And right as you fall into the wall, the gate will hit the rock and open just slightly. But obviously the open gate strength of a carabiner is 1/3 that of a closed strength. And you're generating these like giant 9 kilonewton falls. That would almost snap your rope. But that's what's going to break that. So you can tell by the condescension in my voice that I do not think that this is an actual thing. But because of that, people do like to put a wire carabiner on the rope side.
yes.
That's why you get the mixed draws.
Because the wire side would be harder for it to open by the back of the carabiner hitting.
Because it won't
So this is the
flutter
thought.
because it's lighter.
Yes.
Yeah. I tell people to take that with a huge grain of salt.
Yeah.
I would. What I really like are the Petzl Spirits here because this is bent. The bent gates
It allows you
catch
to
rope pretty well.
roll your
What's
thumb
cool
under it.
about the Spirit specifically is that this is flattened right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. If you like that bent gate design, that's where those DMM alphas. That's like
Yes.
it's shaped like a J. It just like swallows rope. It's super awesome. And then. Like the other one, another cool thing to point out about them is that BD live wire. It has this like ribbed section on the spine of the carabiner, so it like hits the thumb right there.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff.
Go to your local REI. Go to your gym. Just start playing with carabiners.
Yeah, the
Just-
other big
just
thing that
start
I
to see
point
what
out to
feels
people
good.
is that every single carabiner is going to have a slightly different gate tension.
True.
Some carabiners are a little stiffer and a little snappier, which a lot of people really like.
Yep.
Other ones are going to be a little looser. They're going to open up a little bit easier. Personally, I love the lowest gate tension that I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
I want that. I want to look at it and have that thing halfway open.
Just-
So like for key locks, the Black Diamond Nitrons are super loose. I really like that. And then the those helium, the Wild Country
Yes.
heliums are super loose as well.
Which ever since we talked about those, like what, 2 weeks ago,
Which I love.
I just walk in and touch them.
Yeah. Now the Petzl Spirits, which are probably your most popular sport draw, those are actually pretty stiff.
Oh yeah, these are very stiff.
But they have that kind of satisfying snappiness to them.
They do.
So there's certainly an advantage of those as well.
And I really like the curve because, like, as you talk about, it just swallows rope.
Yep.
I climb up, I have my thumb on the back, and just
Drops right
all
in.
day,
Yep.
every day.
So yeah, that's kind of your 3 pieces of your quick draws. Again, as you probably could tell, personal preference plays a huge role.
Oh yes.
In the draw that you like. Oh, we didn't talk about the length of the dog bone.
Oh, we didn't.
Yes.
Let's talk about some length.
Yes. So your standard quick draw is going to be roughly 12 centimeters in length. That's perfectly acceptable. And then most people are going to make a slightly longer, normally a 17 or 18 centimeter dog bone. There's no real world difference between the two.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that a lot of people like to have like a combo.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, well, let me get like 1 or 2 longer ones. The issue is that it's only 5-6 centimeters in difference, which isn't actually going to make any difference.
Yeah.
If you do ever need to extend something, you need to buy an Alpine draw, which is going to be a 24-inch runner with 2 carabiners in it.
Yeah.
For you folks keeping track at home. So yeah, if you ever like are like a traversing route, or you want to hang a draw over like a roof or something like that, so it's easier to clip, like just throw a full bore Alpine draw on there.
Just get you plenty of length.
Yeah, don't 6 centimeters is
it's
not nothing. That's what my thumb to my knuckle, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's such a negligible difference. Personally, as if you haven't noticed already, I'm pretty OCD when it comes to climbing gear. So I look for consistency across my draws. Like if I have 12 centimeter draws, then I want all of them to be 12 centimeters. If I now have all 17 centimeters, then I want it to be all 17 centimeters. If you do work with a slightly longer one over the course of the route, you would have slightly less rope drag.
Yep.
But I think that's probably much more like in theory rather than in practice.
Yeah. And that actually, speaking of rope drag, we move on to one of the most exciting topics of climbing, and the thoughts of rope thickness, rope size.
Oh God, yes.
Rope length. Rope length, though, being very important.
Yes. Don't run out of rope. That's bad.
So this rope, actually, that we're about to pull up, you can't see it right now. It's the very first rope that I bought like 3 or 4 years ago when I first started climbing. It is a 60-meter rope, which translates to about
200 feet.
200 feet. I took a bunch of my friends. We were going to go to Yosemite. Freak blizzard happened. We went 250 miles west. We went to Pinnacles National Park.
Oh, nice.
And it's conglomerate, and there's some sandstone in there, too. I've got a ton of projects out there that I need to get back to finish. But I found this really nice, easy route on top of the highest summit in the park. And I didn't look at it close enough because I was like, oh, 60-meter rope. It'll be fine. It was 105 feet.
Yep.
My rope was 10 feet too short.
Yep.
And I convinced a group of 10 people to hike for 3 hours to get there. We got there. I looked at it a little bit closer, and I go,
Shenanigans ensued.
Guys, yeah, I have never felt so much anger from a group that I have led up a wall. And if they're watching or listening, sorry guys, I love you all. But yeah, so this rope, this is what, the marathon, Sterling Marathon, I think it is. I think that's the name of it. It's a 10-1. I bought it when I first started climbing, when I was just absolutely concerned to death with safety. I was terrified of heights when I started climbing, and I was just absolutely concerned with safety. And I was like, I'm gonna get the thickest freaking rope, and it's gonna protect me, and I'll fall 1,000,000 feet, and it'll be fine, and I won't die as long as within that 1,000,000 feet there's no ground. But as I've learned, 10-1 is not what's needed, really. This is more of a gym rope. This is something for like heavy use.
Yeah, like a 10-1, anything over 10 millimeters today is now pretty much reserved to, like summer camps or like outdoor programs or ropes that are just going up and down all day. And then additionally, I would still recommend a 10 millimeter rope if you're aid climbing and you're running ascenders up and down your rope. Then you'll want that like
because these do work it.
Extra beefiness. But for like normal sport climbing or trad climbing or anything like that, like the way that like ropes are getting made these days, like I always tell people 9.5 is the new 9.8.
Yeah.
So yeah, ropes are getting thinner and thinner and passing higher and higher fall rating tests. So every year it seems like some manufacturer is getting a UIA certified single rope that is thinner than the competitions the year before.
Yeah.
So like I remember when I first got into ropes was like right when like the 9.2 craze like started coming. It was like, oh no, we can go sport climbing with a 9.2 and it's super light and it's like your project rope and it's awesome. And then it was like, oh no, now we have 9.0s. And then it was like, we have an 8.9. And then like a couple years ago, it was like Bamboo put out their Serenity 8.7. And now Bial has their Opera 8.5.
Oh wow!
So
I
like,
say I didn't know they were getting that thick.
oh yeah, you're
God.
getting certified single ropes at 8.5.
Oh jeez.
Which like when I started climbing was like that's almost a borderline twin rope. At that point. So
and I mean they're rated for the falls.
yes.
Do they stand up to the level of use?
No.
So we would need to retire them sooner.
Yes. Well, it's more or less abrasion resistance.
Okay.
Because there's thinner, there's less material, so it's more likely to catch or tear or get beat up on something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean we're rock climbing.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
stuff happens.
You will be dragging it over sharp things.
Yeah. So the thinner the rope. Now obviously because they're rated, we can use thinner ropes.
Sure.
But we would need to be checking them more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just to make sure.
Inspect them, make sure they're not.
How? What sort of things do we look for when we're inspecting our ropes to make sure that they're still in good working order?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Whether we should retire them or not.
Yeah, I mean the first thing is I inspect a lot of ropes.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, so like personally, if you're outside, I mean obviously things to look for like nicks, scratches, fuzzy spots
on the outside.
On the outside of the sheath, and then of course if you see any white, that's a core shot.
Yeah.
You need to chop that. That's
You're
bad.
done.
Yeah,
You're done.
Get that out of your.
Don't die.
Yeah, that's super bad. But then what the next thing you'll probably notice in a rope that has been well used is going to be what we call sheath slippage. Mm-hmm. So that means that the fibers of the core inside the sheath are not as tightly bound together as they once were. So the sheath itself will feel a little bit wider, and you can kind of wiggle it and slide it a little bit more,
moving around. A little
bit. Most notably, it can kind of like bunch up on its way through your belay device. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing to look for would be flat spots in the rope.
Yes.
So that's going to be where the kind of tightness of the core weave has started to kind of dissipate and the whole rope can kind of flatten out a little bit. That's going to be from kind of wearing over a single point over and over again.
Yeah.
So if you're like top roping all the time, kind of right at the top of the rope, right where it's kind of going over the rope or going over the anchor point the most, potentially. So those are kind of all the things that you should look for. And then, at the end of the day, kind of come back to what I said of just kind of trusting your gut.
If you don't like it,
get rid of it.
Retire it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ropes are expensive, but they save our lives.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal.
Well, and ropes are kind of like anything. I could buy a $150 rope. I could buy a $400 rope.
Yeah.
So do you want me to explain the UIAA certifications?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I would love to. That's what a lot of people don't understand. So you will go to your favorite climbing shop and you will grab a rope and it will have like a ton of info written down on the front of it. Mm-hmm. Most notably, it will say UIA falls. In order to be rated as a single rope, it has to have at least 6. A lot of people will read that and be like, wait, I can only fall on my rope 6 times. And then I have to retire it. And that's not the case at all. The UIA falls are 1.77 factor falls, which if you're taking those and not dying, then you're probably a superhero. So like,
how fast would that be moving? Do you know that?
What do you mean?
To create that
level
of force?
Factor fall is all about the distance between you and your last piece.
Okay.
And by doing so, you're generating more and more force on the rope. So a factor 1 fall would be if let's create an imaginary sport pitch. Let's say we're on the second pitch of a climb, so we're taking decking out of the equation.
Okay, decking is out of the equation.
So let's say it is a 100-foot pitch.
Yep.
There's one bolt right at 50 feet.
Yep.
I left the belay. I clipped my one bolt. I climbed up to the anchor of this next pitch, but instead of clipping that, I just hucked it right off.
Yeah, I mean, you got tired.
So that would be a factor 1, right? I fell the exact half of the rope length.
Okay, I got you.
A factor 2 would be I got to that one bolt, but I was too pumped to clip it, so I didn't clip that bolt, and then I got up to my anchor again and then let go, and then fell basically the entire rope length from the anchor all the way past the anchor. That's a factor 2.
Gotcha.
That's super bad. So basically you can consider factor 1.77 in this scenario
as being like if
I like basically did the second pitch of a sport route
at 25.
Say there's 3 bolts 25, 50, 75. I clipped that one bolt, then ran it all the way out to the anchor and then whipped on it.
Yeah.
That's a factor one. So I can do that at least 6 times in a row before the rope fails.
Okay.
And of course, you can get beefier. Like I'm sure this is way higher than 6.
Yeah, no, this thing is beefy.
Like at the gym specifically, we carry the Mammut 9/8 Eternity rope, I believe. It used to be called the Tusk, and now it's called the Eternity. And that's like rated like 8/9.
Okay. So lots of fuzz.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, right? It's like, kind of bring this full circle to a story that I was alleging before. There are going to be single ropes that are out there that are only rated to 6 balls, right? Yeah. And it's like, even though they are thick, so it's the thickness, right? It has to do with the construction and how they're weaving the core and the materials
made
used.
Out of.
That's going to help get that number higher and higher. So you're getting, the higher that number, the stronger, more well-made, more robust rope you're working with, whether or not, like thickness withstanding.
Yeah.
Thickness will inherently give you more abrasion resistance because there's more material that you would have to cut through. But of course, abrasion resistance is only one of the things that's going to potentially damage a rope.
Because we've got a lot of things that we got to look out for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Length is kind of a hot button topic, especially here, on the front range. Basically, people are like, buy a 70-meter rope or you're not my friend. And I feel like that's a little aggressive. Like,
and in Texas,
you and I both are transplants.
Yes.
Actually, everyone in Colorado is a transplant.
Most people here are transplants.
Who am I kidding?
But in Texas, we don't even really sell 70-meter ropes.
Oh, it's unheard. Yeah, and I'm from Wisconsin.
It's unheard of.
Yeah, for any climbing in Wisconsin now. Wisconsin, most people from there will tell you that their local crag is Red River Gorge, and then there are crags in which you do want a 70-meter rope there. But like if you're climbing locally in the Midwest specifically, it's 60-meter rope is more than enough.
Yeah.
So when I went to buy my first rope, when I was still living there, I was like, yeah, we're going to buy a 60-meter rope. Why would I carry an extra 30 feet of rope that I'm never going to use and pay for an extra 30 feet of rope that I'm never going to use? So, I mean, do your homework with your local crag. Like, there's nothing wrong with a 60-meter rope.
Absolutely not. I didn't need a 70 until I went up onto the Tetons.
I personally really like having both.
Yep.
I have a 60 and a 70.
2 60s and a 70.
So, like, for me, I'll just take which one I need for that day.
Yeah.
If I know, like, if I want to link some pitches or if I am going to Clear Creek Canyon and, like, climbing at crags that have 100-plus length sport routes, then yeah. But if I can take my 60, I'm going to take my 60.
Yeah.
It's lighter and less rope.
What were we talking about? We were talking about ropes.
Yeah.
Talking about abrasion, thicker ropes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. 60-meter, 70-meter.
Yeah. Or 80.
Or 80.
Yeah.
I do not have an 80 yet.
Yep. Neither do I. I know some folks that do. They're very proud of their 80s.
Yeah.
And shouts to them.
All right. Well, I mean, as long as they're proud of it.
Yeah. I make them carry it, you know.
I'm not carrying your rope. I feel bad because I'm the camera guy. So whenever we go up the Tetons, we have some of these. We have a rope. And then maybe we'll have some draws depending on where we're going. And I'm like, well, I'm carrying the camera. And I passed the 70 and I passed the trad rack off on to other people. I'm a terrible human being. But I get really good pictures of all that.
It's a team effort.
It is a team effort. I make you look good. You carry the stuff. And then just for fun, because you and I use these.
Yeah.
Ascenders.
Yep.
These are wonderful little guys. Little traction to lock in on the rope there. Some really gnarly looking teeth in here. I would not want to get bit by the animal that has teeth like that. It would not be a wonderful experience. But these allow you to jug up. I like to have mine on quick links, throw a couple of runners through there, set it down for my feet, stand up and just go up.
Motor on up.
Although I did get 2.
Yep.
Because I got these long ago, and I have since learned the techniques to use just one.
Yeah. And
I honestly believe I like using one a lot more
than
too. Both.
So, well, actually, it depends.
Yeah.
Let's be specific. On less than vertical terrain, use 2.
Yes.
Less than vertical terrain, definitely use 2. You'll jug like astronomically faster.
Okay.
But overhanging terrain, I still think if you do it enough, you'll jug faster on 2. But personally, for me, like I'm such a big guy that it's really, really violent on my body.
Yep.
So when I use one through a gree on a pulley, like I'm not moving as fast, but it's much more comfortable, and I can then jug all day because I'm not going to blow out my elbow after like 200 feet of jugging.
Yeah, or your knee. Because that's what gets me. Cause I'll go
for me, it's
all
my
the
for
way
me
up
for
and
me
my
it's my
knee's, like,
for me
way
it's my
down.
elbows.
Yeah.
My elbows are shot after jugging.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh my god. But not as much on one ascender with a pulley.
Yeah, want to send her down to a gree,
Yeah.
back up through
Back
a
up to
pulley.
a pulley. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also you should flip that pulley into a micro traction too.
Yes.
Which is also super helpful.
And then every so often, stop, pull the rope up a little bit, tie a knot, drop it back down.
Safety first.
Yeah. Safety first, safety third. Have
Safety
you heard?
third.
Yeah.
Safety third. It's friends first, snacks second, safety third.
So the safety third thing, what I am familiar with it from is, I can't remember his name now. Dirty Jobs guy, Mike Rowe.
Oh.
He was on a sea deck, and they were in a storm, and they were still working. And he eventually went up to the captain, and he's like, "Hey, when do we stop working? Like, isn't there like some
You don't.
OSHA regulation or whatever?" And the captain looked around, and he's like, "Ocean, not OSHA. You're responsible for your safety." So it's the idea that your safety is not anybody else's responsibility other than your own. And so you have to look after it. If you don't feel comfortable with something, don't do it. Doesn't matter where you are. Don't like, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm rappelling down and I'm off.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
done. Or, I mean, just whatever the situation might be. Maybe you look at a carabiner and the gate's nicked, or there's a crack in the beaner or something like that. That's up to you to say, no, I'm not using that. If it's somebody else's gear, if it's your own, whatever it might be. But yeah, no. So safety third, safety first, however you want to think about it. But it's up to you. Don't get yourself hurt or dead.
Yeah, don't get dead.
Don't get.
It's not curable.
It's not. You only get to take that ride once.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's just kind of a quick overview. By quick, I mean about an hour long overview of different types of gear. And a little bit more in depth, I think, than I know I've ever gotten from a YouTube video or something of the sort. Because, I mean, I learned how to tie my knots. I learned how to set top rope anchors. I learned how to set trad gear all off of YouTube, which is incredibly terrifying. So don't do it that way. I remember my first time going outside climbing was a place in Texas called Mineral Wells. It's only top rope stuff. So I had to learn the anchors, clipping in the beaners, opposite and opposing, setting up runners to go to more beaners to get down over the edge of the cliff, and then
So it's
opposite and
top
opposing
rope, but
again.
they're all bolted?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's top. There's bolts up top.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's lovely. But I mean, they could be 8 feet away
Sure.
from the edge, so now you've got to,
Let's get some webbing.
get some webbing and all that sort of
That's
fun
so
stuff.
easy.
It is.
That's awesome.
It's wonderful, but
You get 4 rock locks and like 30 feet of flat webbing and you're done.
it's terrifying when you're setting your first top
Oh,
rope
absolutely.
anchors.
Well, I did that with all gear.
Yeah. And it's
They're like, these are tri-cams. These are how they work. I'm like, okay. I think I did a rappel off of these. I'm like, no.
that way, if you die, it's entirely on you.
Then we'll fix your anchor and then we'll go rock climb.
Yeah.
Remember,
So-
if you die, we'll split your gear.
Yeah. Cardinal rules of climbing. But yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good overview of your basic bits of gear. Again, go find somebody. Go find a
Yes,
mentor.
please seek professional help.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with having to say, nah, I don't know this or I can't do this. Please help.
It's my favorite chart of part A of the chart is I know nothing. Part B of the chart is I know everything. And then part C of the chart is I have learned so much to know that I know nothing.
Yes. So get to that point.
Yeah,
As quick as you can.
Spend as little of time in part B as possible.
Yes. And check your ego. Check your ego, because your ego will cause you and other people pain. And it's not good. But yeah, so thank you, sir, for this again.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming. And in our next episode, we're going to be talking to a personal trainer, actually. So it's going to be all
Spoiler alert,
fitness-based.
it's not me.
It's not Gray.
I promise.
Gray is a genius of many things, but it's not him. But it should be a good time, and we'll see you guys next time.
Adios.